Welcome to the real journey of the entrepreneur. The journey of any entrepreneur begins with a decision, then writing down your vision, then the execution of that vision. It is not for the faint of heart. It is for those who understand how powerful your mind is and that you can truly create the life that you deserve. It does require a unique formula that includes belief in yourself, a lot of consistency, connecting with an OG, a lot of tears, missing out on a few events and things, and taking a whole lot of risks that will allow you to see your vision and dream come to pass. This journey of the entrepreneur is from the perspective of a wonderful mother, a business owner, whose goal is to break generational barriers and normalize the process of wealth building and financial wellness through entrepreneurship, all while creating a social and give back along the way. I am sharing this journey with you and invite you to share this process with me. Let's do this together. Your decisions, but you have to feel comfortable to own it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I will always support you.
Thank you.
Well, hello there, good people. It is so good to have you join us today. It's a new year. What you doing? Hope that you're doing well. Welcome to the real journey of the entrepreneur. For those who are just joining us, I'm Anita Pierce, the host and producer of a show that focuses specifically on just having real conversations with everyday entrepreneurs who have made the choice and now have the courage to step into the space of entrepreneurship. As I always like to say, entrepreneurship is not for punks. You cannot be a punk and be an entrepreneur. It does require that you have, consistent prayer, consistent courage, having folks who can encourage you along the way. But the most important thing in entrepreneurship specifically deals with believing in yourself and your dream and your vision. And so I have the best seat in the house, where I get to interview everyday entrepreneurs who have the courage to come and share their journey, what it really looks like behind the scenes. Entrepreneurship requires consistency. It requires juggling, balancing motherhood, missing a lot of important dates. But most importantly, it is the consistency and persistence that we all have and strive because we are building and creating a future for ourselves and for our families. So I get the opportunity to interview another wonderful entrepreneur who is in a space where I like to say is loving on some food. And so when you are looking for someone to be able to share best practices about, creating a good relationship with food, I think we need to talk to Leah. Hey, Leah.
Hi, Anita. How are you?
I am doing awesome. It is so good to have you here this day.
I'm glad I could be here.
Glad you could be here too. So
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We're here in the new year, so we are excited to see each other. We've seen each other in person, but virtually it's even awesome in the new year. So Leah, tell us a little bit about who you are, your business, what you do, what's not in the bio online. Tell us a little bit about you.
So I am a single parent. I have two daughters, two phenomenal daughters, amazing daughters. I've been in the hospitality industry for about 25 years. I went to Johnson & Wales University to study culinary and hospitality. And throughout my journey, I've worked with various different outlets, whether it be hotel or restaurant. I've done a lot of consulting. I do a lot of restaurant and bar building, and I also do a lot in the kitchen as well. So leading with my daughters is to say everything that I've gained over the past years, I've been able to hand down to them. So where I am right now is I'm creating and building that legacy because I need these two phenomenal daughters to grow into phenomenal women. So everything I do, everything I create, whatever I put together, I make sure that they're involved every step of the way. And they will gain as much knowledge of the business from the school of hard knocks as they can, so that they can turn around then and present that to their families later on in life and be able to build a sound foundation and structure off the love of food. And that's what brings me here.
Wow.
I have two small businesses. One is a catering company, and the other is a nonprofit organization in culinary arts therapy.
Okay, so you just busy.
Yeah, I'm busy.
Motherhood alone is one that's a blessing. And when you add on entrepreneurship, it just adds in a whole nother layer. So before we get into the business side, I just have a few questions about them. Like, how do you manage, like being a mom, being an entrepreneur? Like, what does that look like in your space currently?
So for me, I think the most important and valuable lesson is that someone is always watching. So it is vital to lead by example, and it's not easy. Um, I know it's hard to say with having sons versus having daughters, but I think it's especially important that I have been gifted with two daughters, because I have to be able to present them with, I guess, the tools in order for them to succeed as successful minority women in America, all the challenges that we are already facing, just making sure that they're equipped for that. It is and has been a bit of a struggle because, as you know, entrepreneurship does not come free. And so there's a lot that goes into building that. So I definitely am and have to work full time while I'm building my business and trying to put something together so that they see life is not always about working hard, but working smart. And granted, I may have missed a lot of time. And as you touched on earlier, we miss a lot of vital dates. But I always make sure that we have that conversation so that they know the reason why this couldn't happen or I wasn't there was because this is what's going to happen. And we have I think we have a great mutual understanding. They are teenagers now, 13 and 17. It has not been easy. They are 4 years apart. So I always have 2 proms, 2 senior trips, 2 senior pictures, and it's always double of everything. And as you know, it doesn't end there, because eventually there'll be 2 weddings, 2 first heartbreaks, and all of those failed attempts at what I want to be when I grow up. And so we just kind of have this relationship where we're very open with each other, very honest. If it's not working for them, we try to figure it out. If it's not working for me, we try to figure it out. But we try to keep each other grounded and make sure that we're always kind of in the same space and we understand what's going on.
Now, you also mentioned that they are involved in the business. How do you get them involved? Is it like, do you help them do paperwork? Are they in meetings with you? Do they pop in? Like, what does that look like for you?
So for me, it was important because I too had to gain the knowledge when it came to entrepreneurship. I didn't know about filing for the LLC. I didn't know about the fees associated with starting your own business. And the push actually for me was with the little one. She's now 13, and about just before the pandemic, so I'd say about 2, maybe 3 years ago, she came to me and said she wanted to launch her own business with a lip gloss line. And I was just like, yeah, okay, like, let's just make some little cards or whatever. And she was like, no, Mom, I need an LLC. And I was like, 10, right? But that brought me into it, and her drive and her passion for it. Her and one of her best friends got together. They launched Glossy Springs. That really allowed me to dig into the meat and potatoes of, these are the fees associated. This is where I would need to start, the difference between the LLC and the S Corp and whatnot. And when seeing her drive and her passion made me realize they're never too young to understand what's going on. So they were both there with me for those parts of the process where I launched my business. They listen in with me when I'm on certain phone calls, age appropriate, of course. And then there's also the point where I get out into the community and I do a lot of volunteer work. I make sure that I bring them with me. It's been very difficult during the pandemic because we try to remain socially distant and COVID friendly, but by God's good grace, we've all come out healthy and whole, and they've learned so much by what we've been doing. And then the older one, I'm trying to teach her a little bit more stability and financial literacy. So she helps me out with receipt reconciliation, some of the expenses, just the little things that I think that she should know, and understanding tax write-offs and tax information and just that nature of the business. So I definitely make sure that I have them hands-on, and that if there are any questions, feel free to ask me why it works that way or how it works, and just kind of just get them involved in almost every process, every part of the process.
Now you tapped into my favorite topic of financial literacy. And the one thing that I think that is important, at least from a perspective of wellness, is just making sure that you're adding in to the conversation what that looks like overall holistically. So when you started your business, would you describe, so you have two businesses, you have a for-profit and a nonprofit. Would you describe to the audience what your startup costs look like in the beginning?
So, I mean, the most important part is, A, it's never too little. B, there's never too much. And so I think the most important thing for me was kind of mapping it out and figuring out, okay, so I want to start a business. What does the registration look like? Because I always looked at starting a business as if it was like a hurdle or like a mountain, if you will. And always telling myself, well, I need to make sure that I can build my website first, or I need to make sure that I've secured a space. Where I've had people around me who are just go-getters, and they're like, you need a social media presence. You need a social media presence, and you need a dream. And it took me a while to grasp that. But once I did, and I released a lot of that, then I went into researching the cost of actually launching the business, securing my name, the cost for the website. So I say generally, if you can get a solid $2,500 to $5,000, that can put you in a really, really good place. Provide you with tools that you would need in order to just launch yourself into something. And you'd be surprised, because the network is so vast that there are people, when they come to you and they see what it is that you're doing, oh, that's a great idea. Maybe I can help with that. I know a person. So don't be afraid to let others know about your idea, because the networking portion of it is gold. It's like magic sometimes, if you will, because you never know who you know and how they can help. So I think it's somewhere between that 2,500 and 5,000, which was unexpected to me. But fortunately for me, I was able to put it together, and I had it. It helped me with launching my websites, getting my name legally recorded, getting my tax information down in order to become a 501c3. And if you don't have that, then there are other ways to go about doing it. It may take just a little bit longer, but you have to do the research and you have to put the work in.
So yeah, it's important to do your research. It's important to make sure that you have the resources available to start your business, because all those things connect to success long term. And so the other thing I wanted to deepen in is Living Creatively, the culinary therapy. Like, describe what that is for anyone who wants to book any of your services. What does that look like? What does that mean? Because it sounds really exciting to me.
So Living Creatively, it's a culinary arts therapy program. And what that does is, or what we're doing is promoting healing, health, and wellness while utilizing food. So it's putting you in a position to explore different relationships, whether they're cultural, familial, personal, and being able to get in there, be hands-on. I like to start off with utilizing the 5 senses, which is very important. And it puts you in a position to, like, for instance, if someone says, what's your favorite dish? Where does that bring you back to? How does that make you feel? Mm-hmm. And it's therapy, but not necessarily clinical by nature. It's supportive. And it's while we're doing something that we love. If you really, if you've ever prepared anything in a kitchen, you know, there are some dishes that have you whistling and dancing. And then there's some dishes where you're just like, I wish this was over. I wish this was over. And it's really just exploring that, how you feel when you are preparing, what it makes you feel and what it brings you back to. And I think it's it's a holistic sensory experience. So with that, we created a very simple curriculum. And the programs are based around the 5 senses. There's an introduction to food, the culture, and food safety. And then we launch into taste, aroma, sight, texture. And I've done a few, when we were in the beta testing phase, I've done a few programs with school age children between the ages of about 5 and 10, and they come alive. They love it. I mean, where we don't have home economics in the school, it's amazing for someone like me who loves culinary to see children so excited about cooking.
So it's so funny that you mentioned about like food. And so my daughter watches this show called Nailed It. I don't know if you're familiar with it. So I hear her in there cracking up one day. She is like like she's like laughing from her gut. And I'm like, what is this child in here? So I get up and I go, because I can hear it, but I didn't see what the amusement was behind it. And so it's a baking show. It's a baking show where the contestants have to duplicate really, different type of cakes, cake pops and all this other stuff. And she's laughing because when they lift up the thing, she said, "Mom, it looks nothing like the actual thing, like the actual cake." So she's laughing because I forgot the show's host, because she's really funny. So she's like cracking jokes and stuff like that. But anyway, so now we're back to baking. My grandmother taught me how to bake. And I put it to the side because I'm like, I don't need to do that right now. But now that over the holiday season, that's what we did. We did cookies. We baked a cake from scratch. And she was like, "Mom, I didn't know you know how to do this." I'm like, "It's a lot that you don't know your mom knows how to do." But but it's funny because she takes an interest in it. And so because she takes an interest in it, it's something that we're now doing over the weekends and our evenings to kind of supplement, learning, to your point about, having your daughters really understand and watch you as the example, but also helping them to develop into awesome women that we believe that they're going to become. And so it's really interesting that you talked about, that specific age group, because my little person will be 7 and she loves food. She loves food, and she now likes to engage in the process. So I recognize that it helps with math, right? And I also recognize that it just helps with, their sensory and all that other stuff. But overall, it's just fun and a good way to bond.
Of course. And I think another exciting part of it is when having children and they develop a hobby. It's like, all right, well, let me go buy the easel and I'm gonna have to get the sketch paper and we need the paints. Food is everywhere. It's in your kitchen. You pull the child aside, you get together, we're going to make eggs. How many different ways can you make eggs? You can boil it, you can fry it, it can be scrambled. It's all of these little things and these this knowledge that you're giving them. And then they turn around and they say, "You know what? I want to make it. I'm going to cook it today. Let me make breakfast." And then they put their own little pizzazz, if you will, into it. And it's that spark that I like to see when they come alive as they're creating. And I think that's what's most important, because at the end of all of this, it's look what you've created. And some kids are just so proud after their final project. I just think it's an amazing feeling on both ends. Mm-hmm. And for me, I grew up in the kitchen. It's in my family. My entire family is in culinary. My dad was a caterer for 44 years. I have amazing cousins who are executive chefs all over the world. Just grew up in the kitchen, and with a large family. I'm one of 5, and my parents just always had us around. So in the initial stages, I learned from, the master chef of the kitchen cupboard, because it was just whatever was there and just waiting to see what magic he created, and then being able to fellowship after with the entire family, have our jokes, enjoy the food. We got to the point where we didn't even have to compliment my dad anymore because we knew it was always going to be good. And I took that with me as I raised my own. And my family is still very much close. So we do spend a lot of dinners with my sister and my mom, and it's the same energy. And I just love how people come alive at dinner time. Family comes alive, and it's the stories and enjoying the food. And I think that's partially what I'd like to capture with my culinary arts therapy program. Just those memories and that sense of security and how it makes you feel when you're able to be in that zone with your family.
Agreed. And so let me deepen understanding about, what do you do on your for-profit side?
So my for-profit side, I have a catering company called Creatively Catered. And it started out, it's actually a really funny story. There's a group of us parents that we all belong to one elementary school, PS11 in Brooklyn. And we all would get together right after drop off so we could decompress. And we would sit there and we would powwow. And there were about 5, maybe 8 of us, and we would just go back and forth. And this is going back years. And we all kind of just sat around one day and was like, well, what do you want to do? What are you good at? And we all had our prospective jobs, but everybody was talking about their passion. And in that room, my passion for food took on the shape of catering. And that was about 10 years ago. And it just caught on like wildfire. And it was like, oh, well, we know a caterer. Well, Leah's here. Well, Leah can do it. And I really was able to dive into it that way. But along the journey, of course, as you know, as an entrepreneur, you still have to be able to sustain yourself. So I still had a full-time job. I still had other things that I was doing, but it caught on very quickly and I created a network. In the initial stages, I specialized in tea parties, which was something that I noticed that we did not have. And what that did was it introduced little boys and girls to etiquette. It presented them with a different side of, for instance, what is high tea time in England? What happens? What do the table settings look like? What are they consuming? What types of teas? And then that goes into the benefits of teas. And it really, it took on a shape of its own. And I was doing the tea parties and I really got into the small bites and preparing small plates and just how beautiful it all looked when it came together. And I did that for a while. And then it was like, okay, so do you make rice? Do you make chicken? How's your mac and cheese? And I was like, all right, well, I guess I got to cook. And then it morphed into a full-scale catering company. And that's basically what it is. I do a lot of my work in Brooklyn, in and around the boroughs. I try not to go too large because I feel more comfortable when it's an intimate setting. It's a lot easier for me to be able to just put myself into the work. And the feedback that I've been getting off of it is amazing. So Creatively Catered for all your catering needs. That's what I'm here for.
And the food is good. I've had it. It's good. So I'm not just saying that just because the food is good, and I like the food is good. So how do you manage between the two, right? So you have a for-profit and you have a nonprofit. Like, what do you prioritize one over the other one? Are you like working more in one business than the other? Like, how do you manage between the two businesses?
So I guess on a high note, I've been able to now pull away from having to sustain with a 9-to-5, and I'm fully on my own. So,
congratulations. Let's pause a bit. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, because nobody understands when you make a transition from getting paycheck every 2 weeks or every week to now you are creating your own. It is no joke. And salute to you for taking that courage to step. So that means you all need to be booking catering, hiring Leah to make sure that we support and sustain. So salute to you.
Thank you very much.
I just had to pause and acknowledge that, because sometimes we kind of like, oh, I went into entrepreneurship, and it's like, I went into entrepreneurship. Instead of like going, yo, I'm taking this leap, like y'all need to, hey.
Absolutely. And I think that, and there are so many individuals that have helped me along my way on this journey. I've had people in my corner who never stopped believing, even at the times when I felt I would. Going back to my point, I had to, once I stepped away from that safety net and that structure, I was like, okay, it's go time. And I had to figure out what the catering company was going to do for me and what the nonprofit was going to do for the community. So in order for me to juggle, of course I have to cater. Of course I have to be able to sustain and take care of my overhead. And prayerfully, I put those plans in motion, and that's just what Creatively does. Then it allows for me to take that time to really hammer out the kinks, put together my structure, and make sure that when I'm presenting my nonprofit program, that I have that time, I have those resources, and I have the bodies that will help me to execute. So I do the catering in the meantime, and then I set up, different meetings and different go-sees and get people on board with the program. So where we are right now, we're poised to launch in the spring in several after-school programs, providing, okay, fingers crossed, and from my lips to God's ears, that we get COVID and the pandemic under control and we're able to get together again and fellowship. If we can't, then we're also working on a virtual program. And I think that now is really a good time because this pandemic has affected all ages. Now is really a good time to find different avenues and different programs where these children can express themselves after being cooped up and petrified of everything that's happening in the world. I think that this program actually comes at a really good time. So it's just scheduling, pacing yourself, and understanding what's here for your highest good and what could kind of take a backseat to what it is that you're trying to do. And that's where I am. I get a lot of catering inquiries. My friends over at the 73rd Precinct, my biggest supporters, they help me out with a lot as well. And watching the work that they do in the community has helped me to not just focus on the profiting side of what I'm doing, but also focus on how vital the nonprofit arm of what I'm doing. And being able to work with them and in their resource fairs where they're providing information and education to the community, people have really taken to the program and the idea of the program. And I'm just really excited and can't wait to get it launched officially in schools and in reentry programs this spring.
I can't wait either.
And there will be lots of samples and small bites, and it's a really hands-on experience.
And so I want to just highlight and want to salute you, because a lot of times when entrepreneurs are starting, they think that this pandemic means that they can't function and operate, but it's clear that you're being strategic and thinking, right? So in the event that, we prayerfully open up again, like for real, and that we are, in a space where we can, sit down and break bread and hang out and really give hugs, because I think that's what I really miss the most. You're thinking, okay, if this doesn't happen, right, that we're going to do virtual. So that means that you're planning A and B and also perhaps C in order to still maintain your business. And a lot of times businesses only focusing on A, meaning the in-person, that they only can do that. But I want to salute you, because that's what we have to do. We have to sometimes be thinking 5 steps ahead as to, in terms of planning. And that doesn't mean that we're going to execute on everything. That means that we have, the what if scenarios available that we can pull out in the event that something happens. And that is where we have to be. Entrepreneurs, we have to be thinking on our feet. We have to be in a space where we're not afraid to take risks and make mistakes. I always encourage to fail quickly, because we are going to fail at some point. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to keep going. That means that each experience that we have, we are learning, how to improve on whatever processes that we have and experiences that we have. It's about shooting a shot and then, always, trying through the process.
Yes, and there will be many missteps and many failures and failed relationships, and you just have to keep going. You have to keep going, and whoever is meant to be on your path or in your space will be there. And if you have, or when you have these goals in mind, tunnel vision's okay. It's okay, because if they're meant to be there, they'll pop up again, or you guys will find your way. But I think it's very important that if you have this passion and you have this dream, whatever your small business dream is, just go for it. Go for it. There are going to be missteps. I trip on the curb every other day. You know what I mean? Like, it happens. Just have to go for it.
At least you're getting up.
Right? And it's not easy, but you dust it off, you pick up your pride, and you keep going. I've had prepared a dish and I'm like, you know what? I got you. And then boom, that was amazing. Like, we're all going to fail at something and at some point, but you have to keep going.
And so as we wrap up our discussion, I got 2 more questions to ask you. What is your philosophy on the importance of business collaborations?
I think it's vital. One of the things that I've carried with me through all of the changes is my network. Those same parents from room 112 at PS11, they are still very much an active part of my network. There's some in law enforcement, some who work for the legal system, one who owns a hotel, and all of these moving parts tend to come back. It's almost like a rotation. I think it's very important to rely on the network because the network is there to help you. And the more you ask and the more you're eager to grow is the more you'll learn and the more will be poured into you. And then you turn around and you pour that into others. So it's basically, outgrowing one table and moving to the next, but not being afraid to bring those people to your new table.
Amen. So I got a question. If someone wanted to follow through in what you're doing, what 3 steps can you offer to share to them in getting started?
The most important thing is to create your mission statement and to understand what it is you want to do and why you want to do it. That is the question I get asked the most. It won't even pertain to food, but that's the first question I ask. So you have to know why you're doing it, and you have to know what it is that you want to do. Following your passion is the most important part. Secondly, understanding money, understanding finances, understanding how that works, and that we can't just jump into something and say, you know what, I have $50,000, I'm going to invest in this, and it's going to happen. $50,000 can go away in the blink of an eye, but you have to understand money. So financial literacy is important. And lastly, the legal aspect. It's important. It took me a while, but it was important that I understood that I had to have insurance. I had to have liability. I had to make sure, because now what I'm producing, people are actually consuming. So I have to take into consideration that what I make can directly affect and impact someone's life. So I think that it's important that you understand the legal aspect of owning a business. So it's that financial literacy, the legal aspect of it, and the mission as to why and what it is that you want to do.
Okay, Leah. Okay, Coach Leah. Bringing all the goodness. So we are at the end of our conversation, but you have to come back. And I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions. I'm always curious to deepen the level of relationship with those who I interview. So let me know if you're ready.
One word?
One word.
Okay, I'm ready. Yep.
Favorite borough?
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Of course.
What do you do in your spare time?
Chill. That's it. That's the only time I can veg out. I come all the way down. And if I get really, really, really bored, then I seek out my little network and see where everybody's at and, maybe meet up for someone else's food for once.
So how do you find time for, what do you do to create self-care and wellness for yourself?
Meditation. I think that the most difficult thing for me throughout the entire journey was finding that time for myself, because I spent a lot of time being a mother. I spent a lot of time being a daughter. My dad passed away, God rest his soul, but my mom, as much of a support system as she is, I got her. I'm there for her. And I have a huge family. I have a lot of friends. I have business relationships. And in all of that, in that 24-hour span, I had to make sure that I set aside time for Leah, because without Leah, none of those relationships would be possible.
Pizzas or burgers?
Burgers.
Smoothies or ice cream?
Smoothies.
Sneakers or heels?
Sneakers. I'm a sneaker girl. Sneakers for sure.
In
Sorry.
In 3 years, what will change within the community that you're serving?
Everybody's going to love food.
Legacy that you would like to leave your family?
Just my passion, my passion, my passion, my passion.
With a switch. So Leah, where can we find you? I have your website here. Where else can we find you on social media?
So yes, you have the nonprofit is the livingcreatively.org. The for-profit, which I just took down and it's under construction, is the livingcreatively.com. And that'll be back up by the end of the week. I'm also on Instagram at living_creatively, LEE. And I'm on Facebook at Creatively, as well as on Twitter. So it's pretty much all the same handle with the exception of the Instagram, which is the living_creatively.
And for booking, they can book you at where?
You can send an email to ls@livingcreatively.com, and all the emails come into me or my assistant.
Awesome. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you too, Anita. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining today. I really appreciate you. I look forward to seeing you at community events because you know we're going to be out there.
Yes, we will. And I'm looking forward to seeing you too. Thank you so much for the opportunity and for your time.
All right. I appreciate you. Virtual hugs and kisses.
All right, dear. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So you see how amazing that conversation was. We learned some really fun and amazing things as it relates specifically to growing as an entrepreneur. You cannot say that I don't know some dope people. Listen, entrepreneurship is challenging, but you also run into some really amazing people. So shout out to Leah for the work that she's doing at Living Creatively, both .org and .com. Again, Leah jumped into full-time entrepreneurship, so make sure that you are out there supporting. So, you know, I don't like to leave you all hanging. We do have some opportunities for resources as entrepreneurship. There's still opportunities for you to take advantage of some of these resources. The first is LegalZoom. They have Fast Break for small businesses. That's out there for you to take advantage of. We have the NAACP.org. They have fund resources, grants available for small businesses. You have UBS, helloalice.com. We also have the US Black Chambers of Commerce.org. This is a certification where you can add your business to the list of businesses there to be able to grow and showcase and, you know, market your business as well. We have a number of resources within the 5 boroughs and also upstate New York that does provide free resources to small businesses. All of the chambers of commerce are listed there. You will just have to tap and plug in from Queens, Bronx, Staten Island, Manhattan, Brooklyn, upstate New York Black Chambers of Commerce, and also the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce as well. We have the New York City Small Business Resource Network, does allow for resources that you can tap into, everything from getting websites to getting coaching, etc. All available here at the New York City Business Resource Network. They have one-on-one support that you can get for free, specifically if you're starting. This is an opportunity that if you are interested in expanding your businesses, the Brooklyn Accelerate Loan Fund has opportunities for small businesses. They have specific initiatives for those who are in business, need to grow and scale your business. It is an opportunity for you to, provided that you have all of your documentation in order. As Leah mentioned earlier, it's about having your business structure in order. Make sure your finances are separated, that you have a business bank account, that it is registered within the state that you are doing business. You also have True Fund, which is an organization that does provide resources. It's considered one of the CDFI connecting organizations that can help to provide you with resources. Also, we have the Verizon Small Business Digital Ready. Again, these are resources that you can use and are accessible for use within your business. So, I want to also shout out and let individuals know that if you are looking for coaching services, you can find me at SCORE. But you can also, if you are in East New York, Brownsville, or some of the other places within the 5 boroughs, you can find me also as a coach at the LDC of East New York through the Women's Business Center. It's not just specifically for women. It is a women's business center where we both coach all genders, all small business owners to help you to grow and scale. And so on that note, I really want to thank you all for taking time out of your day, out of your time to be able to join this show, The Real Journey of the Entrepreneur. Please check out Leah and support small businesses, because it does help when we are supporting one another to be able to help to build the dream of an entrepreneur. So on that note, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to join The Real Journey of the Entrepreneur. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Manifesting 2022. Love you. Bye-bye.